Ladies and gentlemen, take your seat and take a load off your feet. It is the Run and Shoot podcast with your hosts with the mosts, Chuck Hicks and Ryan Smith. Ryan, how we doing tonight, brother?
I'm excellent, Chuck. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's been a busy week. As you know, we only do this once a week, and you know there's going to be a ton that we got to talk about.
Packed show.
I think the biggest one out of all the highlights we're going to hit on the open drive will probably be college football, but we'll definitely get that covered for you here shortly. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, Ryan. Let's talk about some NBA. There's a lot of action going on in the bubble right now. So what are your thoughts on the bubble so far?
Well, you know, I'm loving every bit of it. The NBA action's great, even without fans. Although we still have the fans on, like, the Skype screens or whatever those are behind it, which are pretty entertaining. I saw Lil Wayne actually high-five a fan on there the other night. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
That was awesome. You'll see other folks just pop in randomly on those screens. I'm loving the NBA action. Now, as a Memphis fan, I've had to bring myself back down and level my expectations. They lost today, 122-107 to Boston.
Brutal.
Chances are looking rough. Now, there's still a good chance they could be in that playoff game, but you're not playing to be in that playoff game. You know, you're playing to just to lock up that 8. We're going to see. Honestly, the best matchup right now, I think you'd probably agree with me, Blazers-Phoenix probably for that 8 seed, because both of those teams hot. And Phoenix went to 7-0 today, right?
Well, as Phoenix is on fire. They're hotter than their own logo right now. I mean, just when you have Booker that's on point, it just really shows his star power.
Ayton coming in that number 1 pick.
There you go.
Playing, up to expectations right now, especially as a young player.
And then when you look at the Blazers, man, Damian Lillard, he's not only on another level, he's in another universe right now.
That's a fun team. And look, it's a phenomenal game. Grizz, Portland, that first game of the bubble. And it was hard to root against them because I just like to watch those guys play. Lillard, McCollum, and just the remainder of that squad. Collins is out there. He's come back. He was hurt.
Don't forget about Melo.
Jusuf Nurkic.
Yeah.
He plays great. And Melo, look at Bubble Melo getting things done out there.
Well, it's just that team is coming together at the right time. Now, even though they've lost the past 2, they did get a big win against the Thunder to kind of keep things alive. I think we're at the point now with 1 game remaining with the Milwaukee Bucks. So my hope is for that game, we'll see a lot of the starters for the Bucks starting to rest. They've already clinched the number 1 seed. They're all set to go. So why risk Giannis going in that game? So I feel like, I felt like today we had a chance. Just wasn't in the cards. But with that being said, what do you expect out of the last game of the year, Ryan, against the Bucks?
Memphis is going out there and they're fighting for their playoff chances. They're going to be hungry as they can possibly be. I don't know if they're going to have enough to get it done or not. But if you're the Bucks and you have nothing to play for here,
right? I
would definitely be sitting my players too. But we're going to see. Memphis is going to be hungry. They've got to win this to have a chance, and we'll see if that young core can get it done there with the injuries. Really decimating this team right now.
Right.
I think, though, it's a win regardless of how you look at it, because I think the Grizzlies weren't expected to be this good this year with this young of a squad. You got Clark, and you got Morant, you got Triple J. Don't forget Justice Winslow, who we got in that trade where Iguodala's bum ass didn't want to play in Memphis for whatever reason. Too good for the small market team. But when those guys are healthy next year, look, I'm excited for them, whether or not we make the playoffs. With that being said, I hope we can beat the Bucks.
Well, this, to me, is the beginning of the playoffs for the Grizz. It starts now. So if you really want to go to the playoffs, you're going to have to play your butt off against the Bucks to get there, because Portland's waiting, Phoenix is waiting. Hell, even the San Antonio Spurs are waiting for somebody to mess up to get in there.
The Spurs are playing well.
Yep,
Rudy Gay's playing well out there. DeMar DeRozan. Coach Pop, he's always going to give those guys a chance.
Pops. I have amazing respect.
And they have to win out.
They do.
Need help, too.
But as of right now, it is a 4-team tie for 8th place. 4 teams. So this is going to probably be play-in time.
Oh, yeah. And, we mentioned a couple guys on the roster with the Trailblazers a second ago. How can you forget Gary Trent Jr., too? Because this guy's come out of nowhere, and he is a stud.
How about Michael Porter Jr. out of the Denver Nuggets, man? He is starting to emerge as a good player down there that they need to make this playoff run.
Yeah, and they didn't have him last night, and I didn't realize that. So I had a parlay relying on that Denver-LA game last night. Right. It was just a small one. I like to just throw a small one in every once in a while. But listen to this, Chuck. So the last leg I needed of this, $5 bet, a little 14 parlay, it would have netted $95. So Brooklyn took care of LA 2 days ago, and I didn't realize that this parlay spread over 2 days when I initially put it in. So Brooklyn takes care of business against LA. I thought that was the biggest stretch. So I'm like, all right, good foundation game. So then I had Phoenix over Oklahoma City, Denver over LA, which I was waiting on, but Houston already taking care of things with the Kings. So I turn on to that game with like 2 minutes to go last night. Things are looking great for Denver, but I turn on just in time to see a couple of threes drop in. They go down. Denver can't make anything. I didn't even realize when I placed the bet, obviously, that Jokic wasn't going to be playing, that Porter wasn't going to be playing. So they had the whole second string out there just to miss a couple of free throws at the last second to blow it. You know what? I'm not too butthurt about it. It's a $5 bet. You do like to just win one of those every once in a while, You
do.
But speaking of, he definitely is a young, good player. And that Denver team, if they have that squad healthy going into the playoffs, they can definitely make some noise, as they would say.
Well, the West, I think it's right now for the Lakers to lose, but you've got the Clips right there, right behind them, I think, to take it. But I'll give you my predictions here in a little bit, predictions of the playoffs here in a little while. While the wild things are going on in the West, the East has locked up all 8 seeds, so we already know who's going to be there. So don't need to really get into that. I mean, to me, I think it's between the Bucks and the Raptors in that one. And like I said, we'll talk about more about the playoff predictions here in a little bit. Also, Ben Simmons out of the 76ers has gone down for the season with knee surgery. So where does that put the 76ers in the playoffs?
Right about where they were anyways. I don't think the Sixers, they just don't play well together. It's just like a bunch of guys that are good players that just don't seem to be getting it done. I love Al Horford. He as a member of that back-to-back championship team with Florida, a few years back now.
Right.
Horford's been a solid professional his whole career, but that contract they got in with him, terrible. He doesn't fit with the squad. They're not going to be able to trade him unless they take on a bad contract themselves. And, I just don't like what they have going on regardless. I don't think that they're going to go very far in the East as is. They're a piece, maybe 2 pieces away, and I don't know if Simmons and Embiid can coexist. What do you think?
Well, I just think Simmons is more of a distributor than a scorer.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he's one of the top assist players in the league. I think I've got the number right here. If you give me just a second, I can pull it up. But, yeah, he's right up there. I think he's like top 5. Yeah, he's got 8 per game. So
he's going to have to step it up. It's a scorer's league, and he's going to have to learn how to score the ball and make them respect his shot.
Right. And it's just he's a bad shooter. Let's call the kettle black. He's a bad shooter. And Embiid, to me, is just he started out as a scrappy player. I respected it, may have run his mouth a little bit, but he's kind of turning into this drama queen a little bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
he's a solid player. He's a great talent. Obviously the way we look back on his career is going to depend solely on him staying on the court.
Right.
Because he's solid when he's out there.
Now, Embiid got a little bit shook up the last game. So, I mean, the 76ers are kind of teetering a little bit. I mean, you got the Indiana Pacers who's on point right now. TJ Warden, man, the bubble king right now. I'm going to call him the bubble king. He's on
killing it.
He is
killing it.
So he's on it. So with that being said, we also had Mr. Green, Draymond Green. But he had some comments to say about Devin Booker, him about playing with the Suns, how he needs to get out, don't need to be with a trash team. Just, that's not quote for quote, but that's just basically in a nutshell what he said. Now, the NBA turned around and hit him with a $50K fine. Ryan, do you like that or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tampering, I guess, is what they're considering that. Is that what the Chargers for?
Yeah, it's just like, it's like they do with the recruiting and stuff. Like, I mean, I guess that kind of goes right into the line.
Yeah, you know that stuff happens behind the scenes anyways.
Right.
But coming out with a comment like that, especially for a guy like Draymond Green, just one of my least favorite players in the league. I try not to throw a ton of hate. I just have a hard time liking a guy, especially when he's constantly making comments like this, comparing himself to some of the greats in the league already.
No.
Look, yeah, he's won some titles, but, everybody's not so lucky to get drafted onto a team. He did slip into the second round, and he got drafted to a team just ready to blossom and go out there and just explode onto the scene, and that's exactly what they did.
It's a perfect storm. It happened. It was perfectly right there for him for the taking, where Booker had to pretty much put the Suns on his back for the last couple of years. I mean, it is what it is.
Obviously not an ideal situation for Booker, but I think with the way they've played so far in the bubble, 7-0 right now, on the verge of potentially going undefeated down there and getting a playoff berth potentially, they've still got to have some luck.
Right.
Booker's played out of his mind, but again, that whole squad's looking pretty good down there. And we're going to see, I think this gives them hope to keep him and maybe surround him with more talent. And I think more players are going to want to go down there and play with him.
Well, it's just, I don't think nobody expected him to do that. I didn't expect him to do that well. If anything, like a couple of episodes ago, I said the New Orleans Pelicans would be a dark horse, and they're eliminated. They're not even in it. So, goes back. I mean, sometimes that predictions blow back on me a little bit, but that's what they're for. They're for fun. They're for, I go by what's on the paper. When you go out in the court, things happen. That's what the Phoenix Suns have done. They've gone out there and proved critics wrong, tore up all the predictions, and just went out there and played ball.
Gone out there and played ball. You hit the nail on the head right there. So, they've said, a lot of the players have said, look, this is a Hoopers court down here that basically when you're looking out there, you're not looking up in the stands. The peripherals are just a little bit better, and I think that's why we're seeing so much more scoring. We're seeing guys just go off down there.
Yeah, it's different. Like you said, with the fans on the TV screens and stuff. But you can tell when you watch the game, it seems like they're a little more in sync and in tune a little bit as a team. Even if you're one of the worst teams, it doesn't matter. It just seems like everything is going smoothly. Even the reffing has gone a little bit smoothly.
The refs have done a pretty good job.
Well, you ain't got fans screaming at you.
Right.
I mean, if you're a ref and you turn around and you see one of the fans screaming, all you got to do is turn down that little knob there and say, I don't have to listen to you.
Well, not only that, but they're probably under the biggest magnifying glass they've ever been under. We can hear them better.
That's true.
We can see them from all these different angles. Everybody's watching, right? Every sports fan's probably tuned in to watch this bubble action. And so I think there's a little pressure to make sure that they're making good calls here, too.
Well, yeah, it's just you don't do lip reading anymore. You can actually hear the players, the refs, the coaches.
I've enjoyed some of that, too. You heard some during this golf tournament this past weekend. You heard some, obviously in baseball, we're hearing a lot more of that stuff, too. And we're getting to just see, some of these baseball players not too far off from the same folks we are when we're out there.
Well, it's just it's like going in more in a depth look of the game. Like you're not just only watching the game getting played, you're seeing what they're thinking and what they're saying, and that's pretty cool. Now, with that being said, that's a wrap up on the NBA news for now. The NHL, we have the Predators, and unfortunately, folks, the Predators have been eliminated. The Coyotes advance; they lose the series 3-1. So, I admit, Predators are probably my most least followed team that I have in my fandom. They're probably ranked near the bottom. No disrespect intended. Just, it's a casual sport to me. But hockey is something that I've learned, and I've learned really well because of the Predators, and I appreciate that. But I feel like the Predators are fixing to head to a gigantic rebuild.
You think so?
I mean, you get rid of your coach. You get rid of PK Subban, which I knew was coming.
I didn't like that. I liked having the personality like that on the team, and he was a solid player out there. And maybe it's the casual hockey fan in me where there's probably folks out there that are like, "What are you talking about, you idiot?" But I thought he played hard, man. I thought he was a good player to have out there, and I thought he was a good locker room guy as far as that goes. However far that goes, does it translate the same from football to hockey? I don't know. Because again, like you. Hockey's probably my more casual sport, but right. I will get into it, man. Especially, I just have a hard time, I guess, catching a lot of games.
Well, it's just like when I started in the NFL, I was a big Miami Dolphins fan because we didn't have a Tennessee team. I was a Marino fan, I guess because of Ace Ventura, laces out,
Laces out Marino.
But I was a Miami Dolphins fan, and then when 99 rolled around, actually 98, it's just when they were the Oilers, I wasn't a fan technically yet because they were in Memphis. Then they moved to Vanderbilt Stadium. I didn't think this was going to work out. I mean, I was only a kid. And then when you saw the jersey, when you saw LP Field, I got glued immediately. I started as a casual fan. I still had the Miami Dolphins on my mind because they did.
It was Adelphia Coliseum.
It was Delphia. Right? Yeah, it was Delphia. Apologies. But I was a Ricky Williams fan, too. I mean, I always...
Ricky Williams reference.
I do. I like Ricky Williams. He was a good fantasy back when he was on. Maybe him smoking the dope made him do good things on the field.
That I've mentioned before, man. If Ricky Williams, that he just let him smoke all the pot he wanted, he'd have probably been the greatest running back of all time, right?
Right. But now you fast forward, going through what I've gone through with the Titans, I'm a true Titans fan. And every once in a while, I kind of keep an eye on Miami, but I would say it, I'm no longer a Miami fan. Because Tennessee's my home team. That goes the same thing as me saying about Nashville Predators. I'm warming up to them. I never had a hockey team to pull for.
What about when they get an MLB team? Is that who you're going to adopt?
I don't know. We'll see.
It looks like that they could. I heard that there was an associate that came to town. I think we talked about this already, looking to bring an expansion team to Nashville, and I think that'd be exciting.
Well, I mean, it's just like, with the Predators. At first, I mean, I knew we had a team, but did I pull for them? No, because I didn't watch the game. I didn't even know who the players was. And I admit, I mean, I was captivated when they were making that Stanley Playoff Cup run. And I get that. I mean, it pulled me in then because I realized that this is something good for Nashville and good for the state of Tennessee. And I was on board with everybody else, but now since then, I've learned to pay more attention. I learned to, try to learn the rules of the game because maybe I want to be more of an avid hockey fan. But
I get most of them. There's still every once in a while I need an explanation where I'm like, all right, what exactly happened here? But, any sport where when two guys start to fight, they just cut the lights, crank the music, and let them just duke it out until one of them hits the ice, I'm all on board with that.
Well, I knew that from day one.
Back in the Jordan Tutu days, I paid a whole lot more attention. I've just lately kind of gotten off the wagon a little bit. I need to jump back in and watch some Preds action. You know what? Next year, I'm going to do better. I said that about the Braves like 2 years ago, and you know what? I've done better. Lifelong Braves fan, obviously. The Preds, again, the most casual, but I love those guys.
I mean, I loved them. I mean, they came up with the catfish reference. I think I'm more like, I love the traditions that we have. It's unique than any other team in the NHL. I mean, we got the catfish, the fans are rowdy there. Firestone Arena, Bridgestone. Is it Bridgestone or
Bridgestone Arena?
Bridgestone Arena.
Chuckism.
But anyways, it's a hostile environment. It's probably one of the best in the league. Even when I think it's just because of the Nashville. Because
I think that's what makes the big difference in how they're doing right now too. It's one of the most raucous arenas in the entire NHL, and you hear that from even the most diehard NHL fans.
Yeah,
and then they're playing without fans.
Well, it's just also they have that NHL All-Star game, and they said it was a giant success. Of course, the NFL draft, humongous success. It's just to see it in Nashville. It's a title town waiting to be made. Waiting. The fans are there. The city is there. You got Broadway. The party is there.
Not right now.
Obviously not right now, but the ingredients are there to make a title town.
Agreed. I love the city of Nashville. I love Nashville sports.
But back to NHL. I may have just gone down a rabbit hole, but I had to get that off my chest. But also some more good news as far as COVID in the NHL. It is still a big goose egg for positive tests. They have took a total of 7,245 as of Monday. Now, that number could be changed by then, but Ryan, that's some good news. That's still some awesome news. And also NBA, I've not heard no positive tests within the bubble. So these bubbles They're getting it done.
They're doing a good job so far, keeping it out.
They are. But that's all the NH news we have. Let's switch over to Major League Baseball. I think the biggest one I want to hit on is the Astros are continuing to get attacked.
But they will.
But this time, they're the instigators. They're the instigators. I forget the A's hitter, but the pitcher of the Astros, of course, throws and hits the batter in the back, runs over to the bag, and you're thinking, oh, it's getting tense. It's getting hot. And then all of a sudden, the fight is going straight to the Astros dugout because of a coach of the A's talking bad about his mama. For freaking crying out loud, are we children in a playground now talking about each other's mamas?
Well, and then you got to think too. The Astros know that they're going to catch shit all season long.
Well, they are,
and they got lucky,
and they
honestly,
should.
Because all of that garbage got swept under the rug by Manfred. Again, he made the comment that, look, it's just a trophy when people asked him to strip the Astros, and I still don't agree. I still think they need to go and they need to take that title from him, and they need to give him some kind of actual punishment. But think about this. So what if you're the Astros and say you're the coach and you're going to your guys and you're saying, here's what we do, and you come up with strategies to potentially antagonize the other players on the other team to get under their skin enough to start shit with you to potentially get them ejected? Could it be a strategy that they're going to use in their favor because they see that the MLB's obviously not going to do anything to them?
But it shouldn't come from a coach. That's what I'm saying. A player's one thing. Trash talking goes on all the time, on a field.
You're seeing guys get punished too, though, from the league for pitching at some of these guys.
They
and
are.
Going at some of these Astros players, and you should just expect it. And if Manfred would have took care of it on the front end, maybe you could have avoided some of that. But you're going to have tensions running high anytime the Astros play anybody, especially when they play some of the guys that they may have screwed out of a World Series.
They do. And I think drilling a batter is like a silent, it's like the hockey fights. It's kind of like that. It's like they're not, sometimes they'll get thrown out, but then there's sometimes, all right, warning, next one, you're gone.
Part of the unwritten rules of baseball. And baseball,
it is.
Everything's so sacred when it comes to baseball, especially the history and just the unwritten rules and just trying to have the purity of the game. And you have assholes like the Astros blatantly cheating and winning World Series off of that. And look, I'm not oblivious to the fact there's probably other cheating that goes on.
They are.
But we've not seen anything as drastic as what we've seen with the Astros goofy stuff. And especially just to see it, nothing happened from it. They stripped, obviously the NCAA is a different power altogether, but look, Reggie Bush still technically doesn't have a Heisman Trophy. How crazy is that?
But he was still the best player on the field.
Right. And all he did was accept some money for his mama. Plenty of other college players have done.
He was 18 years old. If I was 18 years old and I knew that was going to help my mommy and daddy, I'd do the same thing.
Right. And I just compare the two just to say, look, he didn't literally cheat the game to win titles. And when you know what pitch is coming at you in the MLB at that level, that's a significant advantage. I don't care who you are.
Well, and you can blatantly, I'm not going to get into the Astros cheating. We all know what's happened. But when you hear trash can lids hitting like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Hell, they're wearing buzzers.
Yeah, and then the little lights and stuff. They went plumb labyrinth with it. This wasn't accidental. This was every game. So, to me, they're the Pete Rose of the MLB. They're going to get blackballed from here on in. I'm not talking about just this year. When everybody looks at the Astros, didn't you say Rob Lowe wore a hat on Joe Rogan's podcast?
Yeah, he did. He wore it was like an Astros hat, but instead of the star, it was an asterisk.
That's how the people will look at Houston.
Absolutely.
From now on. They could go on 10 years from now, winning title after title. They'll still go back to that. That moment.
Should we go ahead and just officially call shenanigans on the Astros' last 5 seasons at least?
Yes.
Shenanigans.
Evil shenanigans. Evil shenanigans. But and then of course you got your Braves, and they did lose the other night, giving up about 8 runs in 2 innings.
Oh God, yeah. It was a rough start yesterday. They did end up rallying, though, as far as that goes in the 9th inning, but a little too late as far as that goes. But, yeah, what you're referencing as far as, just that pitching start yesterday. Well, we saw Newcomb in less than 2 innings give up 8 runs. I mean, it was just a shit show from the start. You didn't see the basket going until the 9th inning, and then they did. They went on quite the rally. The rally caps were firmly on. Just couldn't pull enough of it out.
And it's all right to have a rally in you to never stop, but
right.
if you do it too much, you're not a championship team.
Look,
that
you
way.
go into baseball and you're down by more than 10 runs going into the last inning of the game. Look, odds are not in your favor. You need a miracle.
What is it, like 1,000 to 1 to make a comeback? Probably.
Man, I don't know. I wasn't live betting last night, but if I would have, and I'm sure those odds would have been ridiculous. I would have never put money that the Braves would have come back in that game. But you look, I tuned in just in time to see Camargo, because I leave the gym and I'm checking it on my phone, and I was like, holy shit, they've actually got a little bit of a fighter's chance here. So I get home just in time to turn it on, and Camargo's got 2 strikes, and he's battling. He battled down the stretch there. He fouled a couple off, ended up, hitting one down the first baseline, and that was the end of the game. But a solid little rally, and that's the fun thing about baseball. Did you play Little League growing up?
I did, but I was more in the glass, playing with the grass, and then I'm wondering when we were going to get pizza.
Oh, you didn't get into baseball much.
I did not, and I was more of a football guy, man, growing up.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, I'm the opposite. I didn't play football as a little kid. Baseball was my first love, and so that's what I grew up playing. Dad coached me several years. I loved going out there and playing baseball. I didn't take it seriously enough, like looking back now, obviously, but there's just something about it, right? Getting out there, playing with the boys, you can't beat it.
I also had friends, but like I said, my mom wasn't on the game. It was on pizza, man.
That sounds like my little brother out in right field, throwing grass up into the air, and he's got his glove on his head. But man, when you're in a game and you start getting those bats going, and you start getting that rally going, and you can throw those hats inside out, and you get all the crazy rally caps going. Everybody's on the fence, you know what I mean? There's just something exciting about that. Same goes, just the little split moment that I turned that game on, and I thought, holy shit, could I witness a miracle here? That's why we watched the game.
Well, the good news is they do have a stranglehold in their division.
Oh, they're playing great. They're scoring a lot of runs right now. We just need that pitching staff to really get things under control, which is easier said than done for a young staff. But I think there's enough talent there. Maybe they add a piece, but
I just feel like the bullpen is what's going to really be the Achilles heel for the Braves. As you know, they lost Soroka, and that's going to hurt them.
Big loss.
Yeah, it was. But I feel like overall, the Braves seem like they're in prime position, and we'll see. And we got a couple months left before we start playing some October ball, assuming that we continue to play October ball. Let's pray that we do that. All right, let's get into some football news. Football, Deion Sanders, no longer with the NFL Network. Thoughts?
It's kind of surprising. I'm not sure the story behind all that.
I'm not sure. It just broke like a couple hours ago,
When I think of NFL, Network, I think of Deion, right? Irving used to work for them too, right? Or does he still work for them?
I think he kind of does with Game Day on Sundays.
Okay. But yeah, I think of Deion as one of the primetime guys there, no pun intended, as far as with their broadcast. But when you think, I'll be honest, no disrespect to most of those NFL Network guys, none of them really hold much significance to me.
Adam Rank is like Tennessee Titans public enemy #1.
Oh, we'll talk about him in a little bit with the segment coming up. And that's literally, I wouldn't know who that cat is if he didn't have such hate for the Titans. But, when it comes to NFL Network's just commentators and some of the talent that they have there, with Deion leaving, they're going to have to pick things up. There's not many folks I like to tune in. I don't watch it much just because there's better programming out there.
It is. It just depends what he's doing. Maybe he's got a better deal with ESPN or NBC or Fox or somebody.
We'll see. Maybe he's just going to take a back seat.
He may be.
Hang out for a little while.
I mean, he's prime time. He's got money. He's good. Then you got Darius Guice. If you don't know who that is the Washington's football team's former running back. When I say former, because he got released by the Washington football team earlier this week because of a domestic assault charge. When is these kids, I'm going to call them kids, when are they going to learn? I mean, look what happened to Ray Rice because of that.
Yeah.
And you got Guice doing the same thing, even though he's not caught on camera. Domestic assault is domestic assault, whether you catch it on camera or not. It's ridiculous.
That's right. I mean, it makes you sick. You see it happen over and over with some of these players in the league. But this guy, so you remember he come out of LSU.
Big hop.
And I kept hearing, and like it was public knowledge. It was put out there in some reports that at the Combine, there was a lot of people that were just put off by him in interviews. Some of them said just one of the worst personality scores they had ever graded when it came to a guy. So they obviously saw some red flags.
It was there. I mean, he didn't do abysmal, but it was like red flag concerns. But it's just, even when he was at LSU, he kind of had a reputation of being a very temperament kind of a player. He had a temper on him. Like, there was coaches there. I can't pinpoint who it is.
You want a little fire behind you guys, but you don't want him hitting women.
No. And to me, that guy's a bum. He'll probably get blackballed just like...
Well, he's not done anything to even prove that he needs to be in the league.
But,
he's been hurt most of the time that he's been in the league.
And I drafted him his first year thinking, like, maybe he'd do good.
I saw so many people that have reached on this guy. I saw a trade in one of my other leagues, and I was like, this is so lopsided. And they're like, no. I thoroughly believe in this guy. He's going to be good the next couple of years. And I don't think so.
The only reliable guy in Washington is 35 years old and still running strong by the name of AP all day.
Adrian Peterson.
The man.
Yeah, his draft stock's going to go up a little bit, right?
I would think so. I've got the roster of who is left, basically, on that team. Your Washington backfield, as of right now, after Goose got let go. We were wrong about Peyton
I think it's
Barber.
Darius Geis, but
Geis, Juice, whatever his name is. Adrian Peterson looks like he's going to be number one. We were wrong about Peyton Barber. He's up in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's up in Washington. You got...
so he's going to get a good share of those carries.
You got Bryce Love in there, too. There's a lot of hype on him.
Stanford guy. He was a Heisman runner-up.
And then this is unknown, Antonio Gibson.
Not real familiar with him.
But you got three names right there at least. Adrian Peterson, Peyton Barber, Bryce Love.
All right.
Since Goose is gone, who do you see benefiting the most out of that backfield?
I would imagine Adrian Peterson. He's the only proven guy. I think you saw that they for whatever reason, wanted to keep inserting Darius Geis into the game any chance they could. They wanted to see what they had in him as far as a talent. But Adrian Peterson has looked like the most talented running back on almost every team he's ever been on, even up to last year.
I think the only team was New Orleans, but they underused him. I think it was more.
He wasn't there very long.
No, I mean, they used him for decoy.
Yeah, I guess he basically told him, look, use me or let me go,
They let him go. But another news, Russell Okung, he's pretty much like an all-pro offensive lineman. I think he's with the Chargers right now.
Better years in Seattle.
Very good tackle.
No, absolutely. Still a solid offensive lineman.
With all the COVID-19 going around, he's considering retirement. I don't know his health situation, but I didn't really consider that. A lot of players could consider retirement. Could this trend possibly?
I would imagine he was probably borderline looking at it to begin with, but I would just question, why not go ahead and opt out for the season and then give yourself some time to think on it. But we're past the deadline now.
It's past the deadline.
Why would you not have that thought prior to that deadline is what I would question.
Well, what has he got to prove? I think he's got a Super Bowl ring or two, doesn't he? I think he was on that Seattle team that won the Super Bowl.
Right.
I think. I have to look it up.
He, there's money to be made out there as far as that goes, and, the love of the game. But sometimes if he feels like it's his time to retire, if he feels like it's in him and his family's best interest as far as for their health, not to be out there, then I don't blame him.
Preach it, brother. That's good stuff right there, indeed. But we'll keep it in Seattle. As you know, they've been trying to get Jadeveon Clowney, trying to talk to him, but I think he's in the $18 million, $20 million.
I think they gave up on that one. I think that Jamal Adams totally cemented that he's not going back to Seattle.
They're quietly talking to him.
You think so?
They're it's not like enough to make waves, but they're kind of like, quietly talking.
The Jadeveon Clowney thing really puzzles me, too. So I thought for a while there was a lot of speculation he could come to the Titans. There's been speculation he could go to several other teams, but there's some of the moves we made, not bringing back Logan Ryan and some of these others where you're like, all right, I think what they're doing is jockeying to get into position to go ahead and pay Clowney. but we've not really heard anything. And I think Robinson wants to, but he's not been able to have him in for a workout or anything.
I mean, I've said this over and over again. He's not going to sign him until he gets a personal workout.
And Clowney, I guess, is doing things at his own pace, which we've also seen out of Vic Beasley, right?
Right. I mean, we've also, if Clowney doesn't get picked up, here's some considerable targets that they're looking at. Clay Matthews and Everson Griffin. What do you think of that? Pretty solid right there.
Yeah, Everson Griffin. You know, again, his better years being with Minnesota. Obviously, same goes for Matthews. His better years at being in Green Bay. Where was he at last year?
He was a Rams.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, solid veteran as far as veteran pickups.
You can never have enough pass rush in there.
Absolutely not.
So, you mentioned Vic Beasley earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. I was excited when we picked him up in free agency. He was a stud coming out of Clemson a couple years back. I think he was a top 10 pick.
I think he was too, but highly picked out of when the Atlanta picked him. I considered him a high pick too because Clemson usually turns out some good talent at defensive line. They're like DLU there.
Oh, yeah, and he's a solid player. He underperformed, I think, where he was drafted there in Atlanta, just from what most Atlanta fans seem to say. But we signed him. I figured he's going to be a great addition to our pass rush. He just showed up yesterday, right?
He did.
So he just showed up yesterday. He hadn't gave the Titans pretty much any word on what was going on as far as what they released to the public leading up to it. Most of what had been coming out of Titans camp was that they hadn't basically heard anything. He hadn't reported, kind of like, at work. It's a no-call, no-show type situation. I think there was a report that potentially there was a funeral or something he was dealing with in the family, but he just wasn't communicating that stuff.
Yeah.
So he shows up. I think they said he passed like 3 coronavirus tests, proved he's good. He doesn't have that, but then fails his physical. So what have you been doing, man?
I guess he's basically went down to ATL where Lou Williams went and got him some wings.
I don't blame him, but there's plenty of time to also make sure that you're keeping your butt in shape. During the quarantine, that's the only thing that kept me psychologically balanced. You know what I mean? I had plenty of time to get out there, and some of that boredom I used in productive ways to run and use that extra time to construct a home gym and get after it. Look, if I had bankroll like Vic Beasley and I've just signed a new contract with a new team, there's no way after all this time off that you're going to show up out of shape. It just blows me away. It's nothing like Jamarcus Russell back in the day showing up like 300 pounds at quarterback. But regardless, man, what are you doing?
Apparently nothing. And I come in with high hopes because I'm hoping he would bulk up, help Landry out. There's and then you got we got Jeffrey Simmons on the line as well. I figured he'd bulk it up, but he's let me down. Right now.
It's not a good first impression.
Yeah, it's not good. Very good. It's awful. Some quick signings. We got Miami picking up Chester Rogers. If you don't know who that is, used to be an Indianapolis Colts receiver. I think he was like a number 2 or 3. But the reason we bring that up, as you know, 2 of them of Miami's receiver, Allen Hurns and Grant, all opt out. So they got to get some bodies down there. So
got to have somebody to throw the ball to.
You do. Probably the bigger one, though, is Lamar Miller is picked up by the New England Patriots.
You think he's going to be a factor there?
Absolutely. He can catch out of the backfield. Could it get into Sony Michel's touches? Absolutely.
He's coming back from injury, right?
Right.
So he's going to be going into a backfield. I don't like, when it comes to fantasy at least, any New England running back. And we may be talking about something totally different when we go in to see how that offense is going to run with Cam Newton at the helm, assuming he's the starting quarterback. And I saw his first image in like a New England Patriots jersey the other day.
With a little mop on top of his head.
Yeah, he's got that wild hairdo going. But, whatever works, whatever makes you happy, I guess. But they could be in for big things there. We'll see if Lamar Miller factors into that.
I just feel like, you got it's a backfield to stay away from fantasy-wise because you got that Lamar factor. He can catch and run. You got Sony Michel, who has the potential to be an RB1.
Damian Harris still there, I think. I don't know where he's at on the depth chart.
James White. I mean, it's too cluttered. I'm not saying it's not. You cannot have enough running backs, but for fantasy purposes, yes, you can.
You think they're going to be running some option plays, maybe some?
I would. You got that speed back there. Do it.
I think they're going to get creative with Cam Newton. I think that it gets Bill Belichick excited, gets Josh McDaniels excited to run some gadget plays, break out their inner Steve Spurrier, you know what I mean, and just draw some things up in the dirt and let Cam Newton go out there and play.
Well, it's not status quo anymore with Tom Brady up there.
Right.
You know, this is unpredictable, and I mean, it could be great, it could be bad. We're going to see.
Well, Belichick, if there's one thing we know, he's not anybody that would ever tank, I don't think. This is a guy that wants to go out there, wants to be competitive, wants to win. I think him being able to land a guy like Cam Newton with Tom Brady leaving town, he's licking his chops.
I think it could be a good thing because you can really open up the playbook and be unpredictable because nobody's going to expect status quo in New England with Brady gone.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think he's wanted to get his hands on a new toy too. And now he's got a mobile quarterback. Hopefully, they can keep him upright. Hopefully, one thing I've noticed with Cam Newton over the years is that, man, I don't know what he does to the refs, but they do not protect him like they do other quarterbacks across the league.
He took a beat.
That's not anything original coming from me because people have said that. But you know what? Help the guy out a little bit. That Denver game, man, you remember that Super Bowl? He took an absolute beating in that game.
They pretty much body slammed him through the turf every chance they got.
Right.
And I'm not trying to take up for the guy because sometimes I think Cam can be a crybaby, but yeah,
he's certainly not somebody I'm going to take fashion advice from.
Oh, absolutely not. If I wanted to look like a bum, I guess I'd dress like that. But that's it for NFL. But let's get to the big one. This has been going on for the past couple of days. The NCAA football season is in peril right now.
Oh, man.
Because as of today, actually as of Sunday, we had the WAC, not the WAC, yeah, we had the MAC, and we had the Mountain West gone. All right, no big deal. Yeah, we lose Boise State and Miami, Ohio and stuff. But today was monumental because we lost the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. So, Ryan, we're at, I mean, you said it before, this COVID thing's going to be uncharted territory. But now that we're actually seeing a reality that we could not have a season.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said it multiple times that I don't see us playing college football, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I just the way things have gone this year, and again, it looks like it would be the easiest season to just scrap, give those players next year eligibility, however that looks, however you have to do that, and then just continue with things next year. But then the way things started rolling, we even had the Big Ten come out and put out a schedule, right? A 10-game schedule.
They did.
We started to see things get rolling in the right direction, and then all of a sudden they changed course in a couple days' time and then come out and say, look, we're not playing games. And it's got other teams. Nebraska's infuriated. They want to play.
Ohio State wants to play.
I think all the players want to play for the most part. I don't know. Like right now, you saw speculation that, the SEC is still in it, ACC is still in it. They're saying that they absolutely want to play. How's this thing going to play out in your mind?
I think I maybe sound a little outlandish when I say this, but this could provide opportunity to play with another conference. I don't know if the Big Ten is going to be like, look, if you want to play, go to the SEC and play, or go to the ACC and play. I don't think they'll do that, but what if that's a possibility, especially when you got your biggest heavy hitters that want to play? Look at Ohio State. They're a brand. They're a brand on themselves. They want to play now. I mean, I don't know the rules and regulations. The only thing I could see is a potential, other teams playing in another conference.
The best thing I saw today, you mentioned it before we came on here, I'd retweeted it earlier, was what Steve Spurrier apparently had said as far as his idea. Now, this came from a tweet from Pat Dooley, and he said basically, Coach Spurrier called a few minutes ago, said the SEC and ACC should just play their seasons and the winners face off for a national title because, let's face it, one of those conferences is going to win it anyway.
That's true. And it goes back to what I said. I mean, hats off to the old ball coach with his honesty there.
You got to love Spurrier, man. And he hit the nail on the head with that one, too. And, maybe that's how it goes, right? SEC, ACC, maybe you call them something different. Maybe you let some of these other schools, the Nebraska, Iowa, Penn State, some of these other schools that do want to play. Ohio State. I've heard
Bring
them
them
say,
in. Bring them
in, separate them, maybe just make these, I don't know how many teams you have on each side. Make it work. And look, I'm down for it, but I just don't see us being able to move this to next spring. It seems like a ridiculous proposal.
Well, if you do it, you're going to have to get the other conferences involved saying, hey, we'll buy out Ohio State for one season for like, I don't know what, $10, $15 million. That may be too. I don't know how they would do it, but how can you stop a team from playing when they want to play? It'd be different if these schools were running to the AD saying, we don't want to play. You're getting majority of these high-profile players like Trevor Lawrence, most of the Bama players. You're getting these big names saying, we want to play. Even the coaches, Saban got on today. He said they're safer here than they would be going home.
And there's probably a good number, too, that don't want to play. Let's face it, because when you look at it, they're not getting paid.
They're not.
And that's one of the things that I think the NCAA and a lot of these commissioners are just balking at is, look, figure out a way to pay these guys, make it worth their while, give them some kind of freaking hazard pay as far as that goes if they're playing a season in the COVID, and figure it out.
Well, here's the thing. When you bring that up, Ryan, you know what that brings up the possibility of? A player union.
Right.
And to me, that is the biggest fear of the NCAA. As you know, NCAA is probably a money juggernaut on its own. And then if it's just like the NFL. They have a players union.
And so maybe let's go ahead and just fix this for them, okay? So say the commissioners are tuning in. How are we going to fix this and make sure that we have a college football season, at least with the power conferences that are still in it? How would we do that? Here's my proposal, right? Just like we mentioned.
Go ahead.
SEC, ACC, bring those guys in. Bring in a couple of other guys that want to do it. The Nebraskas, the Ohio States, the Penn States, and all those folks. USC, maybe they want to come out of the Pac-12, if whatever their contracts look like. Put those teams together. Again, separate them into two big conferences. Let them play. Do some tournament-style playoff like they do in the lower levels. The best thing, though, if this players' union takes off, maybe it opens the door, too, to bring back NCAA football. Look, there you go. We just solved the world's issues. We get NCAA football 2020 back. That's going to get people happy and excited about no matter what this season looks like.
I'd be tickled.
And let the teams that want to play, figure out a format. The weirdest thing, though, and this is what I've not heard a ton of people bring up, when I think of college football, I think of the atmosphere, and I think of just packed stadiums and tailgating. You can't have that right now.
Well, here's my theory that, yes, there will be no fans. I mean, the NFL is going to probably start out the year with no fans. So if that's going to happen, college is not.
Some of these pro sports I can do without fans, but college, it's so weird. You need the band playing. You can't pump in all that stuff.
Yeah, you need the speakers to say somebody's name made an interception and the crowd goes wild. And you need to smell the hot dogs and hamburgers cooking. You need to see the people shotgunning beers at a tailgate.
It's making me so sad just talking about this that we may miss all this. We probably are going to miss all of this.
It's a high possibility. I'm like 80-20 on it, that it's not going to happen.
Oh, man, it's making me hungry thinking about, like, tailgate. What's your, like, top 3 tailgate foods?
I like some good shrimp broil.
Yeah, that's solid.
A Tennessee game we went to a tailgate that had some. It was near the Vol Navy over there. That was good. And you can't beat a good old hot dog.
Oh, man, I like a hot dog. You know what really gets me in, like, a game day with the bratwurst, though? You get the Big Daddy, like not even at just a baseball game. When I go to the Titans game, I'll do the same thing, That, maybe even like, if we're really getting bold and we're at a good tailgate, maybe they bust out some jalapeno poppers or something like that. There you go. Oh, my goodness. Cold beer.
I actually tried Gator before.
Oh.
It was a Gators game a long time ago. It's when Trey Burton and all them were playing for Florida, and they came to Knoxville. We went up, and of course, on the skewer, rolling over the little fire over the tailgate was a gator.
Gator tail's pretty good. I've had it. It is
delicious. So, there's a lot. That's why it's tailgate. You never know. You never know what you're going to see.
Again, it's just the atmosphere, right?
And that's what goes back to what it's saying. The atmosphere will not be there.
It's weird. It's like thinking about, like, Like, think about like a high school game without fans. That's weird enough. And it looks like we're maybe having high school football, at least in this state, and not having college football, at least on major levels. It's going to be really weird.
It's like Virginia Tech. You know how they have that Lane Stadium over there? They jump to Metallica. I'm not a VT fan by any means. I shared this today on Facebook. But just seeing them play Enter the Sandman, they're jumping, it gives me goosebumps. I'm not even a fan. And it goes back to the atmosphere. It won't be there. No, the running through the tee for Tennessee, no fans will be yelling. No band will be playing Rocky Top.
Oh, man.
Same thing with you with Florida. You ain't going to hear no da-da, da-da.
Empty Ben Hill Griffin Stadium just is, it's depressing.
That actually sounds pretty sweet to me.
The only thing that could literally drain the swamp of fans would be COVID-19. Oh, man, how ridiculous.
But I'm going to go back to what you said, how you make this work.
How would you fix it?
Call up everybody. Call up all the conferences. Like, look, and actually communicate within your conference. Who wants to play? Who wants to sit out? And find out who wants to sit out. All right, you can sit out. That's fine. You'll still get paid. Have the ones that sit out, replace them with the ones.
You're paying players in your proposition.
I am. I'm playing. I mean, let's just come to the realization. I hate that idea in college football, but it's with the times.
Here's my thing. Can you squeeze all that in and make all that happen in time to have a football season this fall?
Probably not. I would have to push it back to October at least to get a good, decent amount of planning. But what I would do, call up the Big Ten, call up the Pac-12, call up the Mountain West, see if Boise State wanted to come out and play. You will have some of these schools that will take up that offer, and the ones that don't, like maybe a Vanderbilt, Kentucky, which I doubt, ACC, who's low level there? Probably what? Virginia, I don't know, Florida. I mean, there's going to be some teams that will drop out. Maybe Louisville or something. Let's say 3 or 4 drop out. Place them with Ohio State, Michigan. Like Harbaugh came out and said, I want to play this season.
Right, Michigan. Can't forget those guys.
Ohio State, Nebraska. Let's say
Texas.
Texas, Oklahoma. So, I mean, there's just so many names.
Right.
Imagine pulling a Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. For the longest time, even when they were doing that realignment so many years ago, they had Texas and Oklahoma as a projection for the SEC. That would come to life.
That would be wild.
Could you see a Bama versus Texas, 2 of the biggest programs in the entire country as far as revenue goes? Oklahoma versus Florida, a rematch of the national championship game so many years ago.
All right.
The matchups would be so juicy, so intriguing. TV ratings would be going through the roof.
Oh, man, that gets me excited. But then when I bring things back to reality, all this talk just makes me think more and more that we're not going to play football when it comes to college football this year. But we're going to see. I don't see it happening, but I'm praying that it does.
I'll close on this right here. I'm 80-20 with it, but I'm hopeful. If we have to go to 2021 spring, it's going to be a packed thing because we have basketball, baseball on top of that. You know what? So be it. More
Move
money.
Some of those NFL games to Saturday, and we'll tailgate for those.
It's a possibility.
At our homes.
It's a possibility. But that's it for the headlines. Ryan, you were talking to me last week like how some sportscasters, analysis, writers, some of them annoy you sometimes. Like you consider them idiotic.
Right. And we can respect all those guys. It's not that you necessarily want to call them all out. But look, we all have guys that we like to listen to. And over the years, we learn to love some guys. We learn to hate some guys. But as a sports fan, what I look at whenever I tune in, I want sensical knowledge.
Right.
I want to hear the stats. I want to hear your opinion. But I don't want you to make that the whole show. So what we did, we put together the top 5, in our minds, idiotic sportscasters and analysts that we just do not particularly like tuning in to listen to.
I mean, when I look at our list right now, we have everybody's different. Like our lists are totally different.
We disagree on some of these guys.
So we're going to throw plenty of shades on these guys. Plenty of shade. So, Ryan, I'll give you first dibs at number 5. Who you got?
So number 5, I started with a local guy. And this is a guy that when I first started listening, I couldn't stand him. And then I come around and I thought, you know what? Mr. Paul Kuharsky's not so bad. I kind of like some of the information he's putting out. I've went all the way right back on that. PK, sometimes he has great access to some of the Titans info. But the way he interacts with fans is comical sometimes.
Yeah, and
he blatantly throws shade himself at just certain individual players. I just simply don't get it. He hated Mariota. Absolutely hated him. Hated anybody that said anything good about the guy. And he's got such an annoying voice. I respect the man and what he does. But number 5 on my list, most annoying, idiotic sportscasters that I listen to or unluckily have to listen to every once in a while. Paul Kuharsky is on that list for me.
Well, to me, it's just like this cat doesn't fit with the culture down in Tennessee. He's got that South Philly kind of raspy voice. And, there's some stuff that he said that's just total trash. I mean, I may be hard on Mariota, but this guy, you think he stole his kid or something that he hated Mariota so bad.
You know what? One time, whenever he was on, Midday 180, they're still doing that. But I'm listening in my car. I was working here in town at the time. And I'm in my car on my lunch break, and I'm listening to the radio. And they have this segment where he's talking about, I think this was at the period that Keith Bulluck was about to leave the team and go to New York.
Okay, so that's a while ago.
And so I had said, look, guys like Keith Bulluck, guys like Eddie George, if I'm calling the shots there, I'm paying them what they want to let them stick around through the end of their careers because I feel like, deserve that right. And I feel certain players get that from some teams, others don't. So what he does, I tweeted it, right? And I'm just sitting there listening, don't think anything about it. And I hear him come on the radio, Paul Kuharsky, with his beef of the week. They had like a sponsorship, like Wendy's beef of the week. Today's beef of the week, he says, goes out to RC Smith 23 on Twitter. And he called me like an idiot, basically, for that take. And he's like, look, that's what's wrong with some of these GMs when you fall in love with certain guys and you overpay for it. And I was like, hilarious.
I would have been so happy to be mentioned by Paul Kuharsky.
Oh, it cracked me up. Yeah, and we did have a little quick back and forth on Twitter immediately following. But it cracked me up. But again, when it comes to guys I'm looking to tune into, and I just feel a desire to tune into, listen, Paul Kuharsky is not on that list for me.
You need to wear that like a badge of honor from now on. Like, I got Paul Kuharsky's attention.
That will not be the highlight of my career, getting called out by Paul Kuharsky on local radio.
All right, my number 5, I think it's kind of obvious. I think most people hate this guy, Skip Bayless. This guy, it's just, he purposely says stuff to make you so mad. Like when Stephen A., he purposely provoked this guy. I don't want to hear Stephen A. That's another guy that almost made my list, Stephen A. Yes, he's factual, but he's such a freaking loudmouth. And when you had Skip Bayless pretty much provoking this guy to go louder and louder, I was like, I hate him more. I hate Skip Bayless more than I hate Stephen A. because you're purposely ticking off this guy.
And when you see those guys go at it like every day for year in, year out.
It got boring, man.
You think, though, from their perspective, too, like they're going to have so many bad takes because they're constantly just like opposing each other. And Skip Bayless, I'm not the biggest fan, but I can't hate on him just because, he's just like the funny old guy. You know what I mean? He always has terrible takes, and you know what to expect. He loves the Cowboys and everything they're about.
Oh, he's a homer.
Right, and he has the certain guys that he's always bashing, LeBron being one of those guys. But Skip, I can't hate on him too much. He is annoying, certainly.
I'll touch on this real quick. My favorite segment that he got torched was Richard Sherman. He absolutely... I don't care what Skip says to cover his rear end. Richard Sherman put him up on a pole and exposed him and let him have it. That was amazing. It like he kept trying to break off saying, well, let's talk about this. He's like, I'm going to talk about you, Skip. I'm going to talk about you, how better I am than you. I love that so freaking much. I laughed. I remember that day. I mean, he got what he deserved. I mean, it felt like to me, Skip is like this high and mighty analyst, high and mighty writer that, it's nice to see somebody that's not a writer or maybe even another writer to bring him down a level. And to me, that was a moment right there.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I think it was like Jalen Rose back in the day. It's been a few years. So one of my favorite Skip Bayless moments, the lowest point, like the worst face I've seen on him as far as being on TV. They were having a discussion, and he was talking about, he had mentioned in the past like his basketball career and referred to himself as like the Pistol Pete.
Oh my gosh, that's
you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And then they looked at his stats, and dude, he was trash and didn't even start. And so he's been ripped by multiple players. He takes it well as far as that goes, but I think he even went as far as to call him like a water gun Pete or something like that, water pistol Pete.
I'll give him that. The dude is callous, like he's not going to be brought down. He'll keep going and keep trucking.
He makes fun of himself when he's coming out there rocking these Jordans and stuff, and that old man bod. But look, respect to Skip Bayless.
Respect. Who you got at number 4?
Number 4, Darren Rovell. Darren Rovell. You've seen him on Twitter, I'm sure. Pretty much anybody that you probably like in sports media probably trashes on this guy regularly. Right. So I don't want to do too much. One of my favorite Twitter followers right now, as far as when I get on Twitter the other day, there's an account, and it's called Karen Rovell. And, it's basically Darren, but it's got the little Karen haircut.
That's awesome.
And the takes from this account are beautiful. And he's been getting called out by like pretty much everybody, Clay Travis being one of those guys, calling him out for being one of these Corona bros, to where he's almost rooting against having football and having sports. He seems like one of these guys that just wants to hunker down. If you look up nerd in the dictionary, it's got a picture of Darren Rovell next to it, and not in a good light. Because sometimes you can have good nerds and things like that. Darren Rovell, total loser.
Total loser. Angry. I don't really know the cat much. I don't think I follow him, so I guess that's how much I don't like him, because I don't follow him. So
he's like, who's this guy?
Who's this? That's
just follow Karen Rovell.
Like,
it's a better
when
follow.
Somebody tries to message me on Twitter, which I'm still blocked, by the way, which is so stupid. I'm probably going to make another account. But when somebody comes at me and they have more followings than they do followers, I'm like, who are you? Who are you?
I mean, I'll admit, Darren Rovell, I may not ever have as many followers as this guy has. He puts out some decent information every once in a while. For the most part, though, his opinions, just keep them to yourself and stick with the facts, bro.
You can have the facts, but if you're obnoxious and very critical, it don't matter.
You got it. Who's number 4 on your list?
Rex Ryan. I can't stand this guy.
Oh, no.
I can't stand Rex Ryan. Ever since his Hard Knocks with the New York Jets, I think this guy is just a front. I mean, he really showed his tail. I mean, I agree there's cussing, but the way he did it was almost every breath. Do you cuss every breath, Ryan? I'm not trying to say I don't have a potty mouth.
Why are you calling me out, Chuck?
I ain't calling you out.
When I'm not on air, there are times, and I think because I say so straight-laced with my speech a lot of times when I'm behind the mic and whenever I am with customers at my other job, sometimes whenever I am outside the workplace or, kind of at home in my private life, absolutely, I like to be colorful with my language a little bit.
Well, it's just, I don't hate him because of his language. If that was the case, I would hate myself because, I don't always have a clean mouth. But anyways.
When we look at Rex Ryan, I go the opposite direction. I love Rex Ryan. I love both the Ryan brothers, Rob and Rex.
His takes on Sunday Morning Countdown is so stupid, man. It's just, it's
I don't
weak.
always agree with him there. He tries to be the outlier sometimes. But, man, Rex Ryan is a coach. I definitely loved. And I like seeing whenever he ties in because the football knowledge in that dude. Just from him, his dad, the whole football legacy there. And on all the years he's put in with some of these great teams, right?
I mean, he's got pedigree. He's got the football pedigree.
Yeah, I like Rex. I like the attitude. I remember when I think of Rex, I think of him and his brother getting into that brawl in downtown Nashville at the Margaritaville there. Did you ever see the video there?
I did.
He's kicking some ass, man. Don't mess with those guys. The Ryan brothers are ginormous, too.
And I'm not saying they're tough. They're tough.
And what else do you think of when you think of Rex Ryan? What you also think of the tattoo he has of his wife wearing a Mark Sanchez jersey?
I remember that one.
You think of his love for feet.
Yeah,
right?
I know. That's...
Ugh.
No.
I can't hate on Rex
But
Ryan.
I think I don't like him because he replaced Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka, to me, was like a pillar of that countdown. I enjoyed Mike Ditka.
Big shoes to fill.
I think so. And then there would be another guy that had big shoes to fill, too, that I'm going to hate on, too. But I have a better reason why I hate him. because it's.
Is that who's next on your list?
Yeah, actually, it is.
Go right ahead.
It's going to bother you because I know you like this guy. Chris Collinsworth is my number 3.
No.
I cannot stand this guy. This guy is. There's another guy on my list here, too. They're both about as biased as they come. The biggest hit I have on Chris Collinsworth goes back to the Indianapolis Colts Titans play-in game a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Constantly on the Colts side. I mean, even when Jaylen Brown made some picks and interception, well, Andrew Luck, man, he kind of got hit there. He didn't mean to throw that ball. And I'm like, he didn't even get touched, man. He's so biased.
It sounds like a very specific beef.
It is. And he's just his voice. Yeah, man, I tell you. You ever hear him say RPO?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that RPO, man.
I love Collinsworth. I love the voice, too, because, like, he reminds me of just like a stone surfer dude, former wide receiver in the booth, man, having a good time. And his slide ins, legendary. He's one of the most fun color commentators that I listen to when it comes to a game. I enjoy when I see that Collinsworth's going to be calling the game.
Well, he also had to replace John Madden. That was some gigantic shoes to fill.
100%. This is maybe not a good take for some folks, but I think that he replaces him quite well.
I don't.
I would much rather listen to Collinsworth than John Madden in the booth.
I like your number 3. I agree with this.
Number 3, I had Adam Rank on here, and I feel like I don't even like mentioning because I barely know who the guy is. The only reason I know who Adam Rank is from NFL Network, because he's the loser that was hating on the Titans last year. I believe he had us pegged to win 3 games. You saw how that went.
Yeah.
They have us pegged this year to go 8-8. We'll see how that goes, bud.
It's like he purposely makes his round to just trash us.
Yeah, but Adam Rank, and I've seen some of the other programming he's been on in there. You know, just a guy that tries to shove his opinion down people's throats and just tries, I think, to rub certain fan bases the wrong way so that he gets attention. In this case, he did it, and he made it on my top 5 idiotic sportscasters list.
Yeah, he's about. I mean, every projection he's pretty much made has not gone as planned, in my opinion. I just think it's hilarious. Who you got at number 2?
Number 2, Jim Rome, and another guy that I used to kind of like tuning into. He's got a cult following. Rome is Burning. I'm sure you remember that show. I think he still has a radio show, but I don't ever hear it anymore on ESPN Radio.
Mm-hmm.
But Jim Rome, man, he's just got that way about him, like the speech pattern and everything. It's so weird. He's got such a weird cult following. A lot of times there's so many inside jokes with his followers. I don't even know what in the hell he's talking about. But Jim Rome, definitely number 2 on my list.
I remember when I was in the football locker room getting taped up and stuff for a game, lo and behold, on the corner of the TV, Jim Rome is Burning's coming on. Man, he was not always the most positive guy. He was just straight edge, to the point, truthful most of the time, but it's a little exaggerant sometimes.
Little douchey.
There you go. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. But he was a jerk.
Who's number 2 on your list?
Joe Buck.
Joe Buck. All right. I don't like Buck and Aikman?
Well, here's a couple of reasons why. He's following the coattails of his daddy. I forget what his name is. Hang on just a second. But I cannot stand Joe Buck. Joe Buck, to me, he's so unenthused. Like I noticed he's gotten a little bit better in his presentations of a big moment, but it's just like, I'm trying to find a good example. The Cardinals and Texas game, where the Cardinals come back, he was on one of the Cardinals players. What is his name? Shu Bulkwalter or something like that. But anyways, he kept saying, this guy's on fire and stuff like that. So what Twitter did, they made an account, a waiting account with this baseball player and Joe Buck, saying, hey, Beth Bath & Beyond is registered to Joe Buck and this baseball player, because he kept riding his coattails, kept pulling for this guy. And you're not supposed to do that in the booth. You get it.
You want to try to stay a little bit biased, right?
Yeah.
Unbiased. Yeah, Joe Buck, you're talking about Jack Buck as far as his dad. He was a play-by-play guy for the Cardinals for years, Major League Baseball.
Maybe that's why.
Hey, he definitely helped it get that career started. But I enjoy Joe Buck. I think Buck and Aikman do a good job. I think he's kind of a funny guy. He's another one of those where it's like when you hear him in an interview, you like him so much better than when you hear him in the booth.
But it's just like when Aikman, no bad intentions to Aikman, but when they're both talking, they just sound like a retirement home.
Well,
I mean, it's horrible. I hate when the Titans play on Fox.
I don't like Fox coverage normally, just in general, for the whole experience. I don't necessarily hate on most of the commentators as far as that goes, but yeah, not a big fan of the broadcast when it comes to Fox. But I'm sure they'll improve on things.
Well, when we're on CBS and I see it, I'm like, thank God we're not on Fox.
Thank God.
Who you got number one?
So number one here, I put Colin Cowherd.
Okay.
A guy that I've never been on board with. And you know the whole shtick. His whole deal, which a lot of these guys on this list fall in this category of, bad publicity is still good publicity because that's how they make a living, right? Colin Cowherd makes a living on bad takes. People, I feel like, tune in because they don't like the guy. They tune in. Colin Cowherd, here's his basic shtick. He's going to have a top 5, top 10 list. And most of it's going to make sense. And then he's going to take a player that rightfully belongs on that list, pull him out, and put some random dud on there, right? Something that he knows nobody's going to agree with, something there's no way he can even fathom this in his head, just to get people talking about it and go, damn, what kind of idiot is Colin Cowherd? Like we're doing right now. This is how he's made a career for that. He's number one on my list.
Yeah, that's a good one. I got Booger McFarland number one.
Oh, Booger.
And it's not his fault. It's ESPN's fault for thinking that he's, any decent announcer or analysis, man. This guy is trash.
You didn't like all the stuff they had with Booger on the sideline?
No. What was it called? I forgot. That's how bad I hated it.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan. It seemed a little bit awkward at times. But, Booger seems like he's probably a cool guy and a nice guy. And he really is passionate about what he does, but they could have definitely finagled things a little bit better about how they used him.
I mean, Jason Witten wasn't any better, but Booger, man.
Witten was awful.
He was terrible.
I was so happy to see him go back to playing football, and I kind of felt bad for him after saying that, but he was pretty bad. He was horrible. If he wants to get into that, maybe he needs to go the route of getting a little bit more education, a little bit more experience in it.
But
before
Booger
he jumps in there.
made calls that were obvious. Yeah, you got to tackle him. No crap, Sherlock. And I said
lots of memes were born out of that.
He is the only announcer that I yell at TV. No crap, Sherlock. Really? But hey, we can't all be Tony Romo.
Yeah, I'm Tony Romo. Just on that big deal, huh?
Dude, that cat is gold. He was made for that booth. But let's talk about this new segment we're going to do, man. I'm excited for this. This is something that I've been kind of working on, trying to piece together, figure out how it's going to work. And we're going to kind of kick it off. We're going to select some of the topic that we're going to talk about for Bracket Busters. Now, you remember when we worked together, we used to do brackets on the table all the time, just of movies, sports, whatnot. And we had fun with it. It was and we involved other people, and it was good, social interaction.
Right.
So the topic that we're going to do, we're not doing the games right now. We're selecting for the bracket. So we're going to select 8 teams apiece. So there's going to be 16 altogether.
Let's run through these.
Let's do it. These are in no particular order. We're not seeding them. We're just putting them in no particular order. These are the most memorable football games of all time. Now, there's going to be some on this list thinking, what the heck you're thinking? To me, my side of the bracket is going to be the games I experienced.
Yeah, these are mostly, so the topic was most memorable football games of all time, but what we ended up doing here was most memorable games of our lifetime, what we've witnessed and what really we thought most memorable football games, and we can seed these against each other and just kind of see which one comes out on top.
They do, that's right. So my first game that I come to mind is the 2007 Boise State and Oklahoma game. Now, this is the Fiesta Bowl, the Statue of Liberty, the hook and ladder. This game was wild. I lost $100 because of Boise State.
Yep, Adrian Peterson, the Sooners went down in that one, but that was a phenomenal game.
That was the first, I know Utah a couple years before with Alex Smith and Urban Meyer, they burst onto the scene as this bracket BCS Buster team. But Boise State was the one that really blew the doors off of this.
Yeah, it was awesome. Plus, you win the game on a Statue of Liberty play.
And then the guy that received that touchdown went to the sidelines and proposed to his girlfriend. What? You couldn't write a script like that. That's, to me, that was so memorable. There were so many things going on. A comeback, hook and ladder, Statue of Liberty, proposal. Good God almighty, this is a movie.
That's a good, solid selection to start this list off. Do you want to go ahead and finish off your 8, and then I'll run through mine?
Yeah, sure. And another game I picked, I witnessed this, the Music City Miracle. This game was nuts. We had no business winning this game, but we were leading. They kick a field goal. Buffalo kicks a field goal, takes the lead. I remember my dad's turning channel. Well, we lost this game.
Mm-hmm. I remember where I was at.
He switched it over to NASCAR. It was a championship weekend down there.
Oh, no.
He switched it off. I'm like, Dad, turn it back. This is my 10, 11-year-old self saying, Dad, turn it back. I want to watch it. I want to watch the rest of the game, Dad. I hope I didn't really talk about it like that when I was 10, 11 years old. But anyways, at the bulletin at the bottom of CBS Sports of this race, Titans win on a wild play. We turned it back, and, of course, the fans are going crazy. They're reviewing the middle of it, and we're sitting there like, what just happened?
Oh, yeah. And then everybody and their mama claims that they were at that game now, as far as that goes, where it can only seat so many folks, but at least 10 times that amount claim, oh, yeah, I was at that game. Because that is, as a Titans fan, one of the most memorable plays. Well, it's one of the most memorable plays in NFL history.
I think in the most greatest plays of all time, I think that was in the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
That
Solid
was wild.
selection.
But that's one of my picks. And another one, the 2018 Bama-Georgia game. It was the national championship game, a.k.a. the Tua game.
Yeah, that was a great game. Tua come in at halftime.
Well, it's just Georgia was on fire the first half. The defense was just holding that Bama offense with Hurts in there, man. Hurts in there. They couldn't get nothing going with Hurts. Here comes Tua second half. Guns blazing, took it to overtime, and of course everybody remembers the big throw at overtime to win the game.
Saban pulled his balls out, put them on the table, and he said, boys, it's time to play. And he put Tua in as a freshman, right?
Yeah,
right there in the second half of the national championship game, and he came in there and that left arm led him to victory.
Well, it's just Hurts was not a bad quarterback. He was a Heisman contender that entire year. So, yeah, that was ballsy.
To be able to pull him and then put in the freshman, yeah, the move that needed to be made, but, man, it seemed like a drastic one when it was made.
Championship move right there, man. That's what you do. You do championship moments, that's it. So, to me, that's a memorable moment there. 2017 New England-Atlanta game, the 28-3 game. Now, after the pick that Brady threw, I was like, they're gonna get killed. I thought they were going to get killed. But then I started to notice Brady still fire, still get going. 28-10. I was kind of feeling, I'm like, there's something there. But I'm still thinking, Atlanta still got this. Go for 2. Holy crap. I was like, this is a game now.
Oh, yeah. Tom Brady took over in that second half. I remember sitting at a bar and watching that game, and everybody in there hated the Patriots. So just to see that comeback happen and see their expressions change in real time and just see Tom Brady dash Atlanta's dreams like that.
He didn't dash.
What a choke job.
He freaking skinned them. There's T-shirts out there that say 28-3.
Right. Phenomenal game.
So was that more Brady's finest moments or Belichick's finest? It's probably both. Obviously.
For sure.
But it just shows the game's never truly over.
That's right.
Never truly over. So that
Never
was
take your foot off the gas in the NFL.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think they necessarily took it off the gas. It's just the New England just smashed it through the floorboard and
they stopped running the ball in the second half.
They did, and that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Another game, 2007 Michigan-Appalachian State game, a.k.a. the upset heard around the world.
Yep.
I did not watch this game, But I remember the post game. Everybody was going nuts.
Very memorable game.
But to me, this was the beginning of, like, you know how we always say the tune-up games and stuff like that. We always thought, oh, well, we'll schedule this person. They'll get $1.2 million to play, and we'll kick the crap out of them. You still see it in some places, but then there's still, you look at Northern Iowa and Iowa, there was been some upsets there. North Dakota State, they pull upsets over some top 25 teams before, but it all goes back to this game because how monumental this upset was. Michigan was ranked number 2, not 20th, not 25th, number 2.
First game of the season.
And they pulled it off. And that was memorable because it sent shockwaves through college football, and it still goes through today.
Absolutely.
So my next game, 2012 Bama-Texas A&M game at Bama. There was this little guy, I don't know, he wore number 2 for Texas A&M. Kind of a magician. You might have heard of him. His name is Johnny Manziel. But this game to me was the birth of Johnny football.
Money Manziel.
Oh my gosh. There was like 2 or 3 plays there was no way he was Houdini that game.
Yeah, it was a great game. I remember watching it and just seeing the excitement. And again, hoping that he could come in and beat Bama, because at the time, Bama seemed like a team that just could not be stopped. But Johnny Football got it done, and if you'd have told me that he wouldn't have amounted to anything in the pros at that time, I'd have told you that you're crazy.
Yep, and to me, that was the standout game that put him in front for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
So, that has significance to me. I remember that game. The last 2 I've got here is in 2003. It's 1 pro and 1 college. The Miami-Ohio State game, national championship game. The only game I ever seen go overtime for a national championship game. The PI game. Oh, my goodness. Do you think Miami got robbed in that from their, 3rd straight national title?
I don't remember exactly what happened in that one.
If you watch the U Part 2, they talk about it. I remember, I think it was Jonathan Vilma that was talking about that. Vilma, I think. That they said the ball goes past the receiver, the confetti's already coming out, and all of a sudden they look and there's a flag, and it was late. And that, to me, that put the wind out of the sails of Miami, and then, of course, it made it what it is. Ohio State won it. Jim Tressel's a legend of Ohio State now because he beat the mighty Miami Hurricanes. I think it's memorable to me because there was controversy. It's 50-50. I think it's a 50-50 call. Was it called late? Probably, but it wasn't enough to put an asterisk right beside it saying it was a toss game. So that's one of my memorable ones. The other 2003 game, Titans-Steelers. It was a wild card playoff game. This game was nuts. This game was like gloves off, let's do a brawl. People were getting hurt. Eddie George, I think, got knocked out, stone cold knocked out.
Yeah. By
a linebacker hit. And you had Steve McNair playing on a bad bruised thumb, man. And then you had the Steelers that, had Tommy Maddox, comeback king. He was hot. Plaxico Burress was on that team.
Things are always heated between the Titans and the Steelers.
It's a rivalry. It's considered a rivalry because we were in the division at one point in the Central Division before we got moved to the South. This was, I believe, the first year I think we got moved to the South. But it's still a rivalry. It was the first and only time that the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Titans met in the playoffs. So that's a neat thing. And the reason it's memorable to me, it's called Nedney's third chance. It was overtime. We drove down the field, getting field goal range for Joe Nedney. For you true Titans fans, you know who I'm talking about. Joe Nedney attempts his first. Of course, Cowher calls a timeout, try to ice him. Second one. He misses, but roughing the kicker, gets the yardage, gets a little bit closer. Third chance, cashes in. We go on to the AFC divisional, But there was chaos after that game. Cowher flipping his lid over the refs. Joey Porter basically saying the refs gave the Titans the game. They hate our guts. You know, it was chaos. But it just kind of like solidified that this is a true rivalry.
For sure.
It was a dogfight. So that's my 8. That's on the Chuck side of the bracket. I got to figure out the matchups. But what is your selections here?
Yeah, so I'll run through mine real quick. My 8 most memorable games that I can recollect. Starting with the 2008 Giants-Patriots Super Bowl. I know you remember that one.
Oh, that was wild.
I believe that was my first year of college because I was hammered drunk when I was watching this game, which made it even more unbelievable when I had to go back and rewatch it because I remember sitting in there. We had been drinking since noon that day. We get in there and we get down to the wire, and it looks like they're down and out, right? So
Yeah.
Eli throws it up. You have the catch with David Tyree. Plaxico over the top for the touchdown. It was just an unbelievable game all the way around. Now, followed that up with the 2000 Rams-Titans Super Bowl. A tough one to think back to, but it's still a phenomenal game, right? Where we came up the 1 yard short. Again, not to win it unless we'd went for 2, right? But we could have forced overtime.
That was a heartbreaker, man.
A yard short.
But it's memorable because we came 1 yard short of glory.
That's right, and it's the closest we've been to the Lombardi Trophy. Hopefully, we'll be back in a place to compete for it before too long.
What did Al Pacino say on Any Given Sunday? It's a game of what? Inches.
The game of inches. That's right. Number 3 on that list, or just, again, in no particular order, but 2006 USC Texas Rose Bowl.
Man, this was a wild game. That was awesome.
And going into it, like there's already speculation after McNair's last year with us, and we had with the number 3 pick in that draft,
yeah,
that
we had
BY
a bad year.
could be coming here. So going into it, and I'm like, this solidified to me that I was a true fan of BY, especially after we drafted him, because this game right here let everybody know that he was the man, one of the greatest college football players to ever play.
Well, what he did, I mean, this USC was no slouch. This US team was no slouch.
Yeah, USC was
loaded.
Stacked. Lindell White, Reggie Bush,
Matt
Leinart back there. Not to mention, I mean, several of the other guys that I can't even think of right now.
Dwayne
Jarrett on that
Jarrett,
team.
man,
Okay.
my gosh. I mean, they were stacked, man.
In Texas, you pretty much had VY and the rest of the Longhorns. And VY got it done, and you knew 4th and goal, right? He's not leaving that up to anybody other than him. And he took it around the right edge, walked right into the end zone.
And he knew USC was thinking that too, like BY's doing this.
Yeah,
they
knew what
couldn't
was coming.
stop it. They couldn't stop
It was
it.
an unstoppable force.
You know who truly won that game? Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey.
All right, boys.
So moving right along to the next one. The kick 6. You remember the 2013
Nuts.
Auburn-Alabama Iron Bowl?
I thought that didn't count. I was like, did that really count?
I was on my way home. We had been watching the game, and I'm listening to it on the radio and following along. And as I'm walking in my front door, I'm already to the point where I'm like, Alabama's about to kick this and win this game. Turn the TV on just in time to see them miss it. And then you see it returned all the way back for a touchdown. One of the craziest plays we've ever seen, and especially just what it meant for both of those teams.
It was for the national championship chance. It was for the SEC West. It was everything on the line. But I remember my Bama buddy, Russell Guffey, lost his mind over this. He's like, get away. Get out of my face. No, it didn't count. And I was like, it counted. It was a big gasp for all Bama fans. Like they still don't believe it to this day.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, one of them iconic moments from that rivalry.
It was nuts.
Next on that list, 2008, Texas Tech. Now, this was a regular season game, but it had a lot riding on it. Texas was undefeated coming into this game. I believe Texas Tech was as well.
Yes, they was.
Graham Harrell to Michael Crabtree at the end of that game. And it was so ballsy of a play because, if I recall right, they didn't have timeouts left.
No
and
timeouts.
He threw it to the sideline. Crabtree, instead of dipping out of bounds, says, no.
I'm going.
I'm getting in the end zone, and he does. Wins the game over Colt McCoy and the Longhorns, and it got me out of my seat. and I didn't have a dog in the race, and that's how you know you've got an exciting football game.
Well, it's just at that time, Michael Crabtree was another level awesome.
Yeah, and he's been a solid pro too.
Yeah, but that game, I watched it. It was great. Texas Tech got out early, big lead on them. But then the Colt McCoy led Longhorns, brought it back, even took the lead late. But it just came down who had the ball last. It was Tech.
One of the best college football games I've ever watched.
It was good. It was fun.
Next on that list, 2009, Steelers-Cardinals Super Bowl. Again, another one I was pretty inebriated when I watched this game. We had partied at my house and demolished a bunch of shrimp rings and cold beers. But watching this one was just phenomenal down the stretch. And you remember it looked like Larry Fitzgerald had went in for the win in that game for the Cardinals.
It was like less than 2 minutes ago, touchdown. I'm like, they might actually pull this thing off.
And then all the way down to the throw from Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes. It was just an absolute miracle. Like, when you talk about a game of inches, like, if this thing's a millimeter off, he may not bring that thing in and tap-toe both toes into the end zone. Like, one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. Maybe one of the greatest throws I've ever seen.
Incredible catch. I mean, it was everything was pinpoint from the feet to the hands.
On the biggest stage at the biggest moment.
Does that solidify Big Ben Roethlisberger as a big game quarterback? It does.
For sure. I hate on Big Ben all the time, but you know what, man? When it comes down to it, he can make the throw when it matters in certain situations.
It's like the first Super Bowl he got. You know, he kind of rode the coattails of like Jerome Bettis in that defense, but that game was his true coming out saying, hey, I can win it too.
He had to go out there and win that one. He did.
He did.
Next on that list, 2017, Clemson, Alabama in the national title game. After losing the year prior, Deshaun Watson gets it done and beats Alabama with a throw to Renfro. A little bit of a rub play, if I remember that right.
Yeah.
But they did it right.
They did it right, and Bama fans will clamor saying that's PI all the way. And it wasn't. It wasn't.
They ran the defenders into each other.
It was a great play. And
Deshaun Watson showed out in that game. How he slipped to number 10 in the draft blows my mind.
Would you love to have him as a Titan? I would.
We're not even going to go down that road.
No.
Rounding out this list, 2006, Titans, Colts. And Titans fans will remember this, where Baronis, I believe this was the longest field goal of his career. He kicked a 64-yarder for the win against the Colts led by Peyton Manning. And at that time, it was unheard of for the Titans to beat Peyton Manning and the Colts. He had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne and Dallas Clark, and that offense was rolling. Good defense.
I don't know if it was – no, it was Joseph Addai. Joseph Addai. He was
Joseph
good.
Addai. Was he the running back on that squad?
I think he was a running back on that squad. But I remember that game. We had no business winning that game. None. We trailed the entire game mostly. That's when we had Drew Bennett. That's when VY, was first coming onto the scene, But then when Baronis lined up, I'm like, he's not going to make his kick. It's too far. And it just, you got up each moment. You gain inches up. Like, he's going. It's going. It's going. And it's good. Baronis. And I think Baronis solidified himself as a lovable Titan ever since.
Yeah, rest in peace to Baronis. You remember that story? It was like crazy. And I just saw like bits and pieces. I don't know if it was an official, like, there were some articles, but I don't know if we'll ever know the whole story, but if you recall, I believe like Titans fans were out that night. Baronis pulls up next to him, and they said he was drunk out of his mind. And, he was married to Bradshaw's daughter.
Right.
Terry Bradshaw's daughter, and she had made a statement that I guess they had been drinking with friends that night, and I don't know if he obviously must have had some issues with having too much alcohol and doing some things, but she says that she thought he was tucked away in bed, and obviously he slipped out, got in the SUV, and he pulls up next to these fans, drunk out of his mind, apparently, and who knows what else he's on. I'm not trying to speculate as far as that goes. I'm sure there's toxicology reports out there. I'm not fact-checking it, but they said basically he pulls up, they look over, and they're like, oh, yo, it's Rob Baronis. And I don't know if they're waving or what, but they said that he looks straight at him with like a death glare, and he says, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Wow.
And so, like, what do you do as a fan? Like, you're just in shock, right? Like, what? Rob Baronis just say he's going to kill
how would
us?
you feel?
It would freak me out. I wouldn't know what to do with my hands, you know? And he would take off. He takes off. They said they see him down the road as they go down the road, and he's off in a ravine. Like, he wrecked his car and he perished in that crash, which is just terrible, right?
Sad, man. It's sad.
And I think he was a free agent at the time. He was supposed to go try out with Detroit. I think that was the plan. He was supposed to fly up there, would have probably made that team, but man, tragic. It's just a crazy night.
Well, it's just like McNair's. It was crazy how that ended, too.
Oh, absolutely, that was.
He should have kept it in his pants. And just like Baronis, he should have tucked away the bottle.
Yep, you got to watch those vices. They can get us into trouble sometimes.
We'll get the matchups on the next episode, and we'll do round 1. We just wanted to give you a little bit of flavor, little bit of idea who we're going to go with as our 8 games that we're going to put them against, and we'll do round 1. What do you say, Ryan? Does that sound good?
Yeah. Are we doing that route, or maybe even we could even put this out here on social media and then kind of just do a vote and see how the brackets play themselves through?
Absolutely, we can do that too. So, folks, we'll probably do that on our Facebook page. Give us a follow and then look at it, and we'll go from there.
Give us a vote. Get those votes in.
All right, and we'll just run down some quick award winners, finalists that's going to happen. As you know, the NBA officially came out with the finalists for all the awards that's going to come out this season, like your MVPs, Rookie of the Years, Most Improved, so on and so forth. So we'll do the blank game, and it'll be quick. So it's easy. I mean, it's only 3 players apiece. So for MVP, for league MVP, you got Giannis, James, and Harden for the MVP. Ryan, your league MVP is?
My league MVP, I know those are like the 3 finalists. I feel like Anthony Davis could be on that list too, because you saw, LeBron was in LA last year. Not the exact same talent, probably not the exact effort from LeBron as he's putting in this year because he has AD. But I feel like Anthony Davis would get my vote for MVP over all these guys, and I think you could even include Luka Doncic in there too, because when you factor in how much they mean to their team and the success that they're having, I know that's going against the grain a little bit. I would go AD or potentially even Luka Doncic.
Okay. I'll say where the choices that I have, Luka Doncic is a good one. I think he's played well for the Mavericks, but I'll say LeBron. And I'm not a LeBron fan of any kind, but the numbers don't lie. He may not be leading scoring, but his distribution of the ball, he's like 10 assists a game.
Oh, it's LeBron, man. Look, I would never hate on LeBron. Any basketball fan that hates on LeBron, like, I don't know how you do it, right? If you love the game, this dude is one of the greatest all-around skill players we've ever seen.
Well, it's just he's doing it on a level now where it's helping his team. And to me, that's a true MVP. Not just scoring, but actually helping your team, building your team up.
If they were fair, they could honestly probably give LeBron the MVP almost every single year.
Yeah.
He's the best player in the league. Now, maybe he's getting surpassed right now by the Giannis's. As far as that goes, the James Harden and some of those guys, they're right there with him. And you don't have, Curry playing this year as far as that goes. Another guy that would potentially be in that conversation. But, yeah, I can't hate on LeBron being in that pick either. When I'm looking at it, I'm probably going AD or Luka.
All right, who you got for Rookie of the Year? Your Rookie of the Year's finalists are Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, and Kendrick Nunn of the Heat. Who do you got for Rookie of the Year?
Ja Morant, period.
Oh, end of story. End of story. I mean, they even shut down Zion. I mean,
Zion didn't play enough games. I think he played 19 games before the
bubble. Was he electric in all 19? Yeah, he was good. But
he came in out of shape, though, playing in the bubble. They're going to have to get that made a priority as far as that goes. He needs to trim down a little bit, get in better shape, because just the explosiveness with a body type like that, like if you get too out of shape, I feel like he could be, I don't want to jinx anybody, but when you have explosiveness and you're flying around like that, you want to be as light as possible. You want to strengthen those joints. You want to try to avoid injury as much as possible. But, man, just the way he moves, you saw he blew out a sneaker in college.
Yeah, I talked about that, how freakishly huge he is and how athletic he is. He's going to get hurt bad.
They're going to have to get him in shape.
Yeah. But it would be a travesty if John Morant is not MVP.
John Morant is the Rookie of the Year.
I mean, he's played day one. He's done great things. He's made our team better. He's got us in playoff contention.
And every game you go in and you know that's the guy that you have to key on.
Yeah, absolutely.
He makes that offense run.
And it may be the Memphis Grizzly fan talking, but numbers don't lie.
I don't think there's no doubt. John Morant, Rookie of the Year. Nunn's been good there as far as that goes. Clark's been good for us. He's not Rookie of the Year as far as that goes. But, yeah, I think you got to give it to John Morant.
All right, for most improved, this is somebody that was struggled the year before, but then this year they came back. We got Luka, we got Brandon Graham, and we've got Bam. I apologize if I mess this name up. Adebayo.
Bam Adebayo. And he gets my pick. Dude's phenomenal. He's explosive, man. I've not watched much of him. I don't even know where he played his college ball. But Bam has played great. Again, Luka's great as well. When I say improvement from last year to this year, I'm going to go outside as far as from the Luka pick as far as that goes. He's going to keep improving year in, year out. But, yeah, I would go Bam here.
I'm going to say Luka because even in the bubble, he's played great. So
absolutely,
I've got to go Luka. Luka's a good one. For Defensive Player of the Year, you got Giannis, you got Anthony Davis, and you got Rudy Gobert.
Well, you can't go with Gobert here.
Well, I mean, you get your chance to put your boy Davis in there for a spot.
That's who my pick would be regardless. And you saw him come up big with he timed a shot perfectly in clutch last night against Denver. Not that the matchup was real scary for Anthony Davis, but he's just on another level when it comes to defense and locking players down and matching up as far as with his size. He can match up with just about anybody. Anthony Davis would get my pick there and probably will win multiple Defensive Players of the Year.
Well, it's just kind of like a little consolation for Giannis because I didn't give Giannis the MVP. I mean, he's very well could get the MVP because he's put the Bucks on another level. He's all-around talent. But I think he's better at Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to put Giannis.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. So, Sixth Man of the Year. Now, your choices are Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Lou Williams.
I think Schroeder gets it. Schroeder's played really well out there in OKC, and I think it's because of the mentorship he's getting from Chris Paul.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, he's that whole OKC team has been stellar, has been solid. I mean, even though we beat him, but Chris Paul has actually done very well. Why isn't he getting mentioned for most improved or something? I mean, he struggled the year before, and he's had a great year. I mean, I would mention Chris Paul.
Yeah, I don't know in that most improved category because he's consistent year in and year out. It's still a crime he didn't end up in L.A. to play with Kobe. A few years back, you remember that whole fiasco.
Oh man, could you imagine how that would alternate? Kobe could have an extra ring for all we know.
It's wild to think. It's just one of those things. All
right, and I'm going to go with the wingman himself, Lou Williams.
Lou Williams. I can't hate on that one either, man. Lou Williams is a stud. He's always of the year. He's won it before.
I mean, he's always been a solid six-man when they need him to be, and I think he's probably one of the best in the league. Kind of reminds me of Ginobili down there at San Antonio when he was there. I always call Manu Ginobili as the kind of six-man. Lou Williams is right up that level, I believe. But for Coach of the Year, you got three of them. It's the Bucks coach, Mike Budenholzer, OKC's coach, Billy Donovan, and Toronto's coach, Nick Nurse.
So I like Billy Donovan from his Florida days, but Mike Budenholzer has done a tremendous job with the Bucks. You remember he was with Atlanta and had them ahead of schedule. I was surprised that they let him go because I think that he's a phenomenal talent when it comes to a coach, and he's in a team. He's got great talent there, right?
Oh,
especially with Giannis.
He's got Giannis, who is just still reaching his potential.
Right, Bledsoe and those guys. He's got a good squad. He's got them playing well. I would give my vote to Budenholzer if I had a vote there.
I'm going to say Nick Nurse out of Toronto. Done a great job. You figure this team's going to fall off. No Leonard there or anything, but this team has not only played well, but they're probably the best team in the East right now. So I'm going to say Nick Nurse.
Okay.
So, as you know, we talked about the West earlier with the 8th seed. The West team that will claim the 8th seed is? You got 4 of them.
The West team that'll claim the 8th seed, it's going to be the Trailblazers, I think, at this pace. It's the team I think can go in and make the most noise in the playoffs and give L.A. The biggest run for the money. I think they could beat L.A. in round 1 and actually make a playoff run potentially.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that Portland is probably the best out of the 4 right now as far as star power, scoring potential. I mean, they've got 2 scorers alone that can put it, and I'm not even mentioning Melo as well. He could score at any time. So, yeah, I'm going to say Portland Trailblazers. Now we'll just skip right to it. When it's all said and done, the Eastern Conference champion will be...
Who do you think?
I'm going to say Toronto Raptors. I'm high on these guys.
You think Toronto? I think the Celtics could pull it off.
Ooh, that's another good pick. Now, don't be surprised if the Pacers make a little run too.
Hey, they're playing good. I mean, I don't know if they've got it in to make that run, but I certainly couldn't doubt them right now.
Well, to me, the 3 to watch out is obvious Milwaukee and Toronto and Boston. Toronto's probably my favorite right now until something happens. Toronto's actually gone out and proved that they're a better team right now in the East. Who you got? So it's Boston?
I would say Boston. Again, we can't sleep on the Bucks either as far as that goes. But, yeah, when it comes to looking at the East, I think Boston gives you the best chance to come out there and represent the East in the title game.
All right, when it's all said and done, the Western Conference champion will be – who you got?
The Western Conference champ, probably going to be the Lakers. Again, it depends on how that round 1 match goes. But it's so tough, really, because I feel like we're not looking at a normal season here, right? And that goes without saying. But I think this is going to affect these matchups, just playing – basically, there's no home field advantage.
Yeah.
You're playing at a neutral site.
No atmosphere.
I think things are going to be different. You know, maybe even Houston could sneak in there, but it is hard to doubt L.A. with a healthy LeBron James, a healthy Anthony Davis. You're seeing the way that Kuzma's playing right now. Even little Dion Waiters is playing well out there. So if those guys can stay healthy, especially with that core, it's tough not seeing the L.A. Lakers representing the West.
I said the L.A. Lakers too, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the other L.A. team, the Clippers.
You think the Clips have enough in them?
Well, they got a deep bench. I mean, like I said, Lou Williams is 6th man, and not to mention they got Leonard. Doc Rivers on the sideline. I mean, these guys have been there and done that. They know how to win championships. Not to saying that the Lakers don't, because obviously LeBron, but then you have the presence of Davis out there. Kuzma has played well. I mean, I think it could be the battle for L.A. for the Western Conference final. So
you may be right.
I'm going to say the Lakers for right now.
Okay.
But your finals, way too early prediction for NBA Finals champion. Who do you got?
So I'm going to go with...
It's way too early, I know.
So early. And like I said, I think it's going to be very unpredictable. The team, I feel like if Portland gets in and can make a run, that would be the most fun champion this year.
That would be
right?
like a Nashville
and a team with enough talent, I feel like could get it done. But I think the Lakers stand the best chance. You know, I think LeBron really, really wants this ring, especially out in L.A., I think him with Davis having the opportunity to play here, and I think, again, Davis being healthy is the biggest key there. And that's not a big take, right? But I think L.A., who do you got?
The game is L.A. and Toronto. I think that will be your championship game. I think it will go to 7. Both teams are physical.
Man.
I think it's going to be a fun game if that truly becomes – I hope that what it is. I hope it's L.A. Lakers and Toronto. I think
Toronto's one of the best overall teams. You see the way they play.
They're physical. They're fighters, man. Could you imagine Davis and LeBron versus a physical Raptors team like that?
I would love it.
But I'm
going
to say LA in 7.
Okay.
So
bold prediction, sir.
But that's all we pretty much got so far. Let's close this sucker out. What do you say?
Man, I don't have much to say. We've said a lot. Again, I'll repeat what I've said in the past. I'm happy that we have sports to watch no matter what capacity. You know, we got to look out for safety, but we got to keep this country running as far as that goes. So I'm right in the middle on pretty much everything when it comes to that stuff. I'm just hopeful we get to keep sports going. I can't wait to see how this NBA bubble thing turns out. And I can't wait to see how the NFL handles this thing, But regardless, we still got sports. I'm happy about that. I'm happy to keep talking about them as long as we got something to talk about. Chuck,
hey, no positive tests so far in the bubble.
No positive tests, man.
So it's working. It's working. But I'm going to close out on this. I found something pretty funny today. I've been positive the last couple weeks. I'm going to do a little funny. David Arquette, you know who that is, right? Mm-hmm. The guy that stars in Scream and stuff. He had a little stint with wrestling. You remember that in the early 2000s WCW with Diamond Dallas Page, the NWO. And he even goes so far as winning the World Championship. That was the biggest mockery in all of I don't even consider wrestling sports, but we might as well just say what it is. All sports. An actor winning a world title. That's a little bit of a mockery. Well,
aren't they all actors?
Well, they are, but this is a movie actor.
Gotcha.
Not in shape. You have to be in shape for wrestling. But did you know he's coming out with a documentary earlier this year called You Can't Kill David Arquette? This is him trying to redeem himself. He's turning I thought this was a mockumentary. Like, I thought he was just making fun of it. He's caught heat for the last 2 decades about that, about his stint in the WCW, saying he put a bad name on wrestling. It's your fault. You're horrible. And now he's actually getting in shape and actually wrestling in these events now. Like, it shows him getting busted open, bruised up, broken bones. I thought this was fake. But no, he's like saying, I want to prove, that I can do it too. Like, my thought is, he's crazy. He's nuts. This guy's in his 50s. He's had a heart attack. He's going to have another freaking heart attack if he really does this.
I bet he's making a decent paycheck. He's looking at that paycheck.
Well, am I going to watch it? Yeah. I need something to laugh at. I need some entertainment. But, I mean, it could be a good documentary.
So it is based around him going out and wrestling, huh?
Yeah, he's going out like to these, not like, the main events and stuff like WWE, AEW, and all that stuff. No, like these independent areas, like redneck, trash-looking areas, or like ECW areas, like, rough. Gets the crap kicked out of him and stuff. It shows him being busted open for real and stuff. I mean, wrestling is fake, like the storylines, but the physicality is real.
Yeah, I know you said to be a wrestler, you got to be in shape. Tell that to Rikishi.
Oh, Lord. But, hey, that was some fun times back in the day. Absolutely. But I thought that was a good closing thought. That it's interesting. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to check it out. But like you said, sports is back. Gives us something to be hopeful for. The bubbles are working. And, folks, next time you're back on, we're going to do the Bracket Busters Round 1. We'll have the matchups ready to go. And like we said, we'll post it on the Facebook page on the matchups, let you see what you think, maybe even vote on them. But, folks, we sure do appreciate it. Ryan, you got anything else, buddy, before we go home?
That's it.
All right, why don't you close us out, partner?
All right, I'm Ryan. This is Chuck. We want to thank you for tuning in. Please make sure to hit that follow button, especially if you're following along here on YouTube, Facebook, whatever the media outlet may be. Follow along. We'll have some good content for you. Make sure to leave some comments. Let us know what you think, good or bad. We're here for it. Absolutely. Until next week, this is the Run and Shoot Podcast.